Soup for President, Chapter 3. Higher, said Soup. This is as high as I can reach, I yelled over my shoulder down to Soup, who was behind me and below, standing safely on the ground in Mr. McGinley's orchard. 1 more inch, Soup suggested. I'll fall off the ladder, I shouted. Already I was up on my tiptoes, my sneakers poised dead center on the very top rung. Against my hands and face, I felt the rough gray splinters on the side of Cyrus McGinley's cow barn. Well, said Soup, it won't look right unless you sort of get it centered. If I tumble off this cussed ladder, I won't look so hot either. You want to be my campaign manager, don't you? Yes, I said. What I really wanted to do was get down off the ladder. So, that's what campaign managers do. They paint the candidate's name on the side of a barn. You mean sort of like mail pouch? I asked. Sort of, but I ain't a chaw of tobacco. Nobody said you were. Make a mark, yelled Soup, his hands cupped to his mouth, right where your left hand is. Why? Because that's where the S in Soup ought to start. Are you sure we have enough paint? It's only 4 letters, said Soup. I can spell. Did you mark the spot? Yes, I said, not quite daring to look up at the white scribble of chalk that I had added to Mr. Cyrus McGinley's property. Okay, said Soup. Now you reach up with your right hand and mark it so you'll know how wide to make the top of the S. Eyes closed, I chalked another squiggle. That's good enough. Soup? Yeah. I'm not sure that painting your name on Mr. McGinley's barn is such a hot dog of an idea. Why not? It pays to advertise. Well, because I don't think it'll help you win. You're not supposed to think. What am I supposed to do? Paint. Your uncle's gonna get sore, Soup. Nah, Uncle Charlie's a regular guy. Soup was busy with a large screwdriver and a chisel. Sitting on the apple-strewn ground, he began to pry up the lid from a gallon of red paint that he'd borrowed from his uncle's tool shed earlier that morning. You know, Rob, that S ought to be bigger. I want to get down. You just got up there. I still want to climb down off this ladder. Oh, you're not up very high. It's only a 20-footer. Maybe it doesn't look so high from down where you are, but from up here it looks like one heck of a drop. You'll get used to it. What's underneath me? I asked Soup. Something soft. Like what? Manure. Oh no, if I fall off this dumb ladder and land in a manure pile, Mama will kill me. And if she doesn't, Aunt Carrie will. They won't kill you. How come? And Soup laughed. The fall will. Some friend you are. Rob, if you were the candidate, I'd buy an airplane and skywrite your name as big as Vermont. You honest would? Darn tootin'. How high am I? More than 20 feet. It looks higher than it is. I want to climb down, Soup. Not now. Here comes the paint. Did the lid come off? Yep. Is it really red? Redder than the devil's longies. As the ladder suddenly tilted, I felt gray splinters dig into the palms of my hands. Breakfast came up into my throat. Oatmeal, apple pie, orange juice, and a banana. The chalk slipped and joined the manure. For golly's sake, Soup, don't make me laugh. I'll fall and break my butt. Steady now, here I come. Soup's voice was dead serious as he started up the ladder. I didn't want to look down. Up through my sneakers, I felt his painful progress rung by rung. 1, 2, 3. I counted each jiggle of the ladder, my eyes closed tightly. Hurry up, Soup. Looking down, I saw at once why Soup's last remark had been so garbled. His mouth carried the paintbrush. I wanted to ask Soup right then and there why he didn't bring 2 paintbrushes, seeing as there were 2 of us. But then, knowing Luther Wesley Vincent as I did, it would have been a needless question. Soup was a planner. I was a painter. Here, said Soup. What? Take the brush. Where is it? I asked. Open your eyes and look. There was Soup, handing me a paintbrush with one hand and a gallon of red paint with the other. Slowly, I bent down and took the brush. Now, said Soup, tape the paint. I can't. Why can't you? I'll fall. We'll both fall. Soup was silent for a minute, contemplating, no doubt that he would also go tumbling down. I could read the deep thinking on his worried face. Tell you what, said Soup. What? Maybe I'll get Allie, or Raleigh to be my manager. You picked me. So I did. But you don't like painting, said Soup. Painting's okay. What I hate is falling. How do you know you hate falling? You haven't fell down yet. Some things in this world you don't have to actually do to know that you don't got into them. I just didn't realize it. Realize what? That there was so much paint in politics. Here, take the gallon. But I already got the brush. Say, you hold the paint steady, and I'll dip the brush in and paint, I told Soup. Somebody ought to be on the ground to check the shape of the ladders. It was useless to ask Soup which one of us would be up on the ladder painting. I don't even know why I even bothered to ask. Why do you get to be on the ground? 'Cause I'm closer, said Soup. In my right hand was the brush, while the half ring of wire handle of the heavy paint can cut into the fingers of my left. My cheek was pressed against the exterior gray timbers of Mr. Silas McGrinley's barn. Eyes closed, I felt my sneakers on the tip-tuck rump, counting Soup's downward retreat. Okay, said Soup, start painting. I might fall. You're not afraid, are you? Not exactly. Slowly, painfully, I twisted my body, my sneakers pivoting perilously on the ladder's top rung with nothing to hold on to except a brush and a gallon of very red paint. In my brain, I pictured the very red face of Mr. Cyrus McGinley as he was telling my mother how I had defaced his barn. And then I imagined my very red behind. Leave a margin, said Soup. With great care, I dipped the brush into the paint, withdrawing the bloody bristles. Sure was runny paint. Maybe I'd put too much on. Upward went my hand, higher until red paint ran down the handle of the brush, along my wrist and up my arm, or down my arm, headed toward my shoulder. I made the top of the S. It's running, said Soup. You don't have to tell me. Make it thicker. The paint? No, the S. I made it thicker. Down the inside sleeve of my raised arm, a small pond of red paint had started to form in my armpit. Wow, that paint was sure drippy. A drop fell from my busy brush, narrowly missing my eye. The red drip ran along the bridge of my nose, and when I raised my chin again to look up, the drop scooted into my nostril. We moved the ladder, and I started up again. When I start a job, I always finish it. Paint sloshed over my sneaker. Soup? Yeah. Did you stir the paint? Of course. When? Well, I sort of shook it up. That's why it's so doggone runny. We didn't stir the paint. All the thicky gook is in the bottom of the can. Stir it now, said Soup. With what? Dig the brush in deeper. Somehow, but how I'll never really know, I painted the big, runny red S on the outside of Mr. McGinley's hay barn. My fingers cramped a bit, so I switched hands with the brush and the paint can, applying the color with my left. This is harder than it sounds. Even with my right hand, I'm no sign painter. Using my left, I'm a full-fledged slob. All I did was complete the O and turn my left armpit into a red puddle. Inside my shirt, paint oozed down my ribs in the direction of my belly button. Make the U smaller. How come? We moved the ladder again, and I had already started to form the U as Soup made his suggestion. Well, maybe good old Soup had a point. Back where he was sitting on the ground, leaning against a tree in the shade and eating an apple, he could probably see better than I could. Earlier, I had a hunch we were leaving a mite too generous a margin to the left of the S. We might not have enough room for the P. Okay, I said. But as things worked out, the U was fatter than either the S or the O. Paint was smarting in my left eye, causing me to squint upward as I splashed and splotched my way across Mr. McGinley's barn. This, I promised myself, would be the last time I'd ever be a campaign manager. I wondered what Norma Jean Bissell was doing to her to put her name before the public eye. So help me, I promised if Soup says one word about this paint job, I'd paint him red and then vote for Norma Jean. You're bending the pea around the corner. I know, I told Soup as I watched a drop of red paint trickle down the leg of the ladder. Why? Because we either run part of the pea around the corner, I explained to my candidate, or we nominate you to ask Mr. Silas McGinley if he'd make his barn a bit longer. It looks like Soup, said Soup. I was getting to the point of not caring if I'd spelled soup or soup. Paint had passed under my belt and inside my shirt in several spots, running little red rivulets down into my undershorts. I almost completed the pea and then painfully climbed down the ladder as the gallon of paint was no longer in the can. Some of it was on the barn side. Most of it was on me, dripping down my legs over my socks and sneakers. My arms ached. Good job, Rob, said Soup. Have an apple. We both tried to pry my red fingers off the handle of the red brush. Cramped, they wouldn't turn it loose. Head to toe, my clothes were stuck to my body by layers of red paint. The ladder was red too, and even the manure. Thank heaven, I said, falling to the ground in an exhausted heap, that I didn't have to paint Norma Jean Bissell. Yeah, agreed Soup. With a name like that, you'd have painted yourself clear out of town.